Hi guy, good night to you. So tonight I'm gonna talk about why Islam is growing. The religion of Islam is growing everywhere. You see people converting to Islam. So why? So I'm going to discuss why. And the most important thing is that the number one is Islam teach people that God is one. So that's the main reason why Islam is growing. If you look at the other religion, there is no other religion that say God is one. Even the branches of Islam that is not considered as Islam, what they call themselves Muslim, but they are not. They believe God is one, and they have also other gods. They start to call someone also God, things like that. So it's not pure monotheism. So that branch is not popular as the branch of Sunni branch, because Sunni branch is following the way of the prophets and the belief of the prophets. So God is one. And I remember reading the story in the Gospel of Barnabas, the story of Abraham. Very interesting story. When angel came to Abraham saying that God want to talk with you. Angel came to Abraham saying that God want to talk with you, and you go to the mountain and you have to do ablution, cleansing yourself. So of course Abraham didn't know how to cleanse himself, and the angels show him how. So when Abraham met God, and God said, I am your God, then Abraham got worried, because at that time Abraham thought there are other gods as well. So Abraham said, would you protect me from other gods? Then God said, God is only one. I am alone. There is no God beside me. So then Abraham feel relief that God is only one. So he didn't have to worry about other God. So that is the first time when Abraham believed that God is one. because God Himself told Abraham that God is alone, there is no other God beside one God. And then I also learned something in the religious school when I was still very young, like 8 years old or 9 years old, when a religious teacher said God is one. God cannot be two. Just imagine if God is 2 or 3, God would quarrel among themselves, and then this world would not have existed if God is 2 or 3. So God has to be one. And then that's what I learned in school when I was young. So there are also many Christians. They were also studying religion, Christianity, when at a very young age, like myself, 8 or 9, 10 years old. And many of them only believe that God is one. And then when they asked the priest said, just believe, don't ask question, just believe. But this Christian still cannot take it that God is more than one. So these people in the end find Islam that believe or teach people that God is one. So very easy for these people who had in their belief that God is one to convert to Islam. I heard many cases like this, that the former Christian converted to Islam because they had believed God is one. They cannot take it. Jesus is God. They cannot take it because they look also in the Bible, they read the Bible, they came across that Jesus had worshiping God. So when Jesus had worshipped God, then he is not God. So that's the number one reason why people converted to Islam, because they believe that God is one, is logical, accepted by the brain and the mind of the human being. And so it's number one. So shall I look for number 2? Well, okay, I think number 2 is the Koran. The Koran contains information that of science. This had just found recently, but Quran had mentioned that 1,400 years ago, and also The Quran had never undergone any changes. The Quran they had found 1,400 years ago compared to the current Quran is the same. And the way Quran is preserved is by people who memorize the Quran. Just I don't have to look far for people who had memorized the Quran. My grandson, he is studying in school memorizing the Quran, and this is his final year, so by next year he had memorized all the 114 surah of the Quran. So he is only, I think he's only 16 years old, and so next year he will be 17 years old. So at 17 years old, he memorized the Quran. So the test, how they select the student, they test the student. So the candidate have to memorize already few pages of the Quran. So they were asked to memorize maybe 3 pages or 4 pages of the Quran. Then they listen. So if the candidate can memorize, say, 3 to 4 pages, then he would be selected, memorized without any serious error. Then he would be selected to or admitted to the school of Quran memorizing school. So this my grandson, when I send him to school, he sit at the side. I was driving and he was sitting, and when in the car, he read the Quran from his memory. So of course his father was also checking that, make sure that he can memorize the Quran. So was helping from his father as well. So, and for that reason, he passed the test and admitted to Quran memorizing school. They stay in a hostel, given a room each person. So he has to go away from home to the other side of the country, the capital, and I don't know how many people I see in one class. Is like about 20 to 30 people. So every year they recruit new students, about 30 students every year. Maybe in the end not everybody pass. So say maybe, I don't know, maybe 80% of them got through. So every year the country is producing people who are Hafiz, who memorize the Quran. So every year, so how many years already? And that is my country. How about other country as well? This is a practice. Every Muslim country have people who are in Quran memorizing school. So this practice had been practiced during Prophet Muhammad time. All the people who are close to the Prophet memorize the Quran. All at that time, so many people can memorize the Quran. But as the population of Muslim grow, of course, more people can memorize the Quran. I heard of a convert, a white lady convert. She memorized the Quran by herself, and I think in less than 2 years she memorized the Quran. A new convert memorized the Quran. So it's not impossible for a new convert memorize the Quran by doing that, memorizing themselves. Maybe she got the talent already, memorizing the Quran, and it's not impossible that someone memorize the Quran, even the new converts. And okay, that's about the Quran. And now the Quran, they found it that is coded. It cannot be replicated by human beings. Quran sentences is coded consistently. A number is produced that the mathematician couldn't think this is coincidence. So this has to come from God. No human being can write like the Quran or can produce like the Quran. So Quran itself is a miracle. So guys, I have two already. I think that's enough. Thank you very much for listening.